Good morning, everybody. It's Fearless Friday here on the Hot Mess of a Show, the Daily Dive. Hi, everybody. We have Amber King, we have Shanda Masta, and we have a local gentleman, Pete Hammer. Pete, can you tell us about yourself and why you're here today?
Yeah. My name is Pete Hammer. I live in Lewis County, Washington. Many of you know it as the Centralia, Chehalis area here in Washington State. I'm a teacher. I teach at a Native American school. I'm Native American myself, and also a local activist. I'm also the local vice chair of the county party, the Democratic Party. And I believe today we're here to talk a little bit about the Hamilton sign out on I-5. Isn't that right, Oz?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to talk about the Hamilton sign. First of all, Amber, Shanda, you want to say hi to everybody and give a shout out to who's in our audience today?
Hey, good morning. I see Barbara and Human in there. Good morning. Let make sure to send out. Happy Friday, everyone. Glad we made it through the week. It's every week I say that on Friday. I'm like, whew, okay, next week, what's happening? So how about you, Shanda?
Good. Human says that June 5th is World Environment Day 2020, just so you're aware. Woohoo. Yeah. So good morning, Chad. Good morning, Oz. Good morning, Pete. Thanks for joining us. And hello, Amber.
Yeah, I think environment has a lot to do with it, and I'm not trying to minimize the impact of environment, but our visual environment, what is being thrust into our face on a daily basis. And we're going to start this off. That's why we brought Pete in about some local news before we go to national. And we hope Pete sticks around for this because I'm sure he'll have some good things to say in perspective national. But let's get back to the sign, Pete. So we're going to let it fly, and I'm going to put the larger view up on the screen.
Okay. Well, I'm no expert in this particular subject, but it comes up all the time. If you drive up Interstate 5 in Western Washington, which is the main thoroughfare north-south through the state, and you come through Lewis County, right next to the freeway, there's a sign, and there's a kind of bizarre picture of Uncle Sam. And there's usually some right-wing Democrat bashing, liberal bashing, whatever you want to call it, slogan going on next to Uncle Sam there, as you see right now. Whatever that's. I don't even want to read that because I don't want to dignify it. But this sign has been sort of a thorn in the side of a lot of people in this county for decades. The story behind it is there's a family that owns all the land around there. They're the Hamilton family. Now, this family put up this sign, and people started complaining. They said, well, this isn't right. This shouldn't be on the freeway. And so lawsuits were actually brought against them. I can't say exactly when, but it was many, many years ago. The Hamilton family won the lawsuits because if you look at the sign at the very, very bottom, to the very bottom of the border of the sign, it's like an advertising for Hamilton Farms. So they've argued right there that this is an advertising sign. Not all the other stuff is not what it's about. So they won based on that fact. There's a petition now to bring it down. As much as I support it, I signed it. I know probably I think almost 20,000 people have signed it so far. But is it gonna do anything? I don't think so. This thing has been through a lawsuit or more, and they've never been able to take it down. It's a private sign, advertising. So it's a strange thing. It's something that in this county, a lot of us it just makes our county look terrible. So, any other comments or thoughts on this thing?
Yeah, Pete, I personally, I'm going to jump in here real quick since I'm bringing it, and this is right in my backyard. I got to say, this sign has, when I first moved to Chehalis in 2015, this sign had something horrendous on that. I think they were using, it was either about Inslee or Obama, just horrific things. But I offered in this chat, I said, maybe stop going after the sign. Go after the assholes who sponsor it. If possible, picket any business owned by that outfit, maybe trying a different approach instead of going after it from the standpoint of censorship. I know, hate speech, but if we continue to do the same things over and over again, expecting a different result, question mark, my 4 cents worth, and yes, I will sign this petition, but thinking outside the crazies game is where we may need to look. Thanks for posting, C. I just, honest to God, that's the only thing I could say, because it's like what we see, with the protesting Jamie Herrera Butler's office on Tuesday in Chehalis, in the John Birch historical, in the wobbly hanging area. I mean, yes. They're laughing at these people. Why not take it to their home? And this Hamilton family, from what I understand, their business is in Clark County. Is that correct, Pete?
I believe they live there. They've been here for a long time. They own a ton of land all along the highway there. I would say, along the lines of what you were saying, is probably come up with find someone who would put up an alternative sign to counter it. You know what I mean? Someone it doesn't have to be in the immediate area, but maybe within a few miles, and reference the sign, and do the same thing they did. Put a little advertising on the bottom for something, and just do it the exact same way. And just, okay, now we got a little balance going at least, right? Because I don't think you can take them down. I think this has gone. I'd like to look it up, but I think this has gone to high-level courts, and they have been victorious.
Yeah, and what we're seeing today with the First Amendments, our First Amendment rights are being just ripped away, and now Trumpty Dumpty is bringing out the military. So we have that going for us too, ladies.
Third Amendment.
What? Yeah, Amber. You go first. Go ahead. What do you think about that?
Well, I was just saying all the amendments are getting enacted this week, which is pretty historic to see the Third Amendment being highlighted in Twitterverse as the mayor of D.C. told the National Guard they needed to leave and evicted them from the city. So, yeah, Third Amendment coming on strong. But we have to realize First and Second Amendments are ultimately very important as well. I actually have county that's grown up in Lewis County my whole life. My grandmother and her great grandmother were from there. And I had a great uncle who was the Lewis County sheriff for probably about 40 years as well. And so I understand the sentiment. I know how rural America operates. And I love to see, the countersign. I've been part of organizations. We put up billboards on the way to Monsanto's headquarters in St. Louis right before their board meeting, asking them to change direction several years ago. So billboard signs can be very powerful. I've definitely never agreed with much that's ever been on that sign in particular. I do always look at it. It's like something you can't look away from, unfortunately. So I definitely would probably have even stronger feelings if I lived near or closer to it and had to see it daily. But I see it enough that, it's noticed for sure. But I think that free speech is really important. And I think that we should be having a counter free speech sign and showing that there's other people in that area that aren't of that mindset. And I think that would be really powerful. And I thoroughly believe in the power of sarcasm, and we've seen it take down lots of right-wing groups and militias, as well as, we just need to laugh a little bit more in our lives.
Yeah, that uplifting. And Shanda, this really hits home for you, particularly lately, because you're living in a rural community that's dominated by not only an older demographic of thought, that MSNBS, that CNN viewership crap that buys the propaganda, but you went to a protest yesterday, so this is kind of, tied in with that. You want to speak to that too?
Right. As most of you know, I live in Clallam County, which is the further northwest county in Washington state. I can see Canada most days. And we're heavy Republican and very heavy establishment Democrat. And we actually had problems with signs too. And you're really trying to weigh out that First Amendment, not taking a person's right to their opinion away from the fact that, that they're spreading a hate rhetoric. We actually took it to our city council because our local Trump supporters left up huge signs on Highway 101, which is the main thoroughfare in my precinct, which I'm the PCO of. And after the election, so our pushback was, hey, we're not allowed to have political signs up. We're not allowed to leave them littered out there after an election. So can't we get them to take it down? And this was on private property too. So basically, there wasn't much we could do. We had to just outweight them. And finally, somebody went up there and tagged that sign. They put FUK on it, and they finally took it down just because it had been defaced. I don't know who defaced it, but we're walking a really thin line here on, if we start going after other people's First Amendment rights, then we're giving up our own First Amendment rights. As much as we hate these signs, I love the idea of a counter sign. Pat, the Batman fan, says in the chat, every town's got one of these families. And I don't think that this is unique just to rural Washington. I think this is probably happening all over the country. I know traveling South Dakota, those type of states, we saw some pretty out there signs in people's fields and whatnot. So it's not just our little communities, I think, that are dealing with this.
No, absolutely. And Brahm makes a good point. I caught this chat here. This is a sign on private property. Burning it down and getting away with it, it will set a very bad precedent. I agree. My first thing was I wanted to just torch the thing, but I'm reduced to just flipping that thing off every time I drive by. I mean, that's not activism, flipping signs off. Like, T said, the jojoba the other day. Checking on her to make sure she's okay because she's black and you're a white friend is not activism. Hashtag Black Lives Matter is not activism, okay? If, from a white, that's for you to make you feel better. So now what we need to do with signs like this, and these signs, like so many in the chat, are all over the world, okay? We have that element, face it, but how we approach it, how we have the petitions, have the other sign out there to balance it and discredit it, and like you pointed out, making fun of it usually might have a better effect on it. So I don't know. What do you guys feel overall? Let's have another word from Pete on this before we close out and go to the next section.
Well, I think, also just bring attention to it locally, which, it's been there so long, and it's not really been in and out of the news, quite honestly. It's just kind of a fixture. We've become very complacent about it. I think, making some hay out of it would be a good thing, writing letters to the paper, maybe a nice political cartoon, something like that to the paper. I don't know if they would print it. But,
I agree. Activism through art. Absolutely. Yeah. And
just bring attention to it.
We don't see enough. It's an embarrassment. It's a sad embarrassment to our community. I'm part of that. I've just moved a little bit out, but I'm here part of this community. So Amber, your thoughts on that?
I'm wondering if they also own the Ford museum next door. Is that their land as well, with like the 500 Ford pickups?
Pete would know.
In various.
That's a little ways down that's a little farther down the road. I don't know if they own that, but I know they own a lot of
how
land.
their neighbors feel.
Is that that's awesome Ford? Is that what you're talking about down there? All the land, because I know all those car dealerships are kind of like an umbrella. They're all like a family of car dealerships, and the owners own everything. Titus.
No, this is
old Ford.
Literally like, I don't know, 200-300 rusting out cars. Very strategically alongside the property line. It's in front of the freeway.
It's a boneyard, like the boneyards we see out in the country with all the dead tractors and stuff. Okay, I get you. Shanda, last word on this.
So I got to ask, they own a lot of properties. Do they own any businesses? Because there is activism we could be doing out there.
Right.
Look at their businesses, go out there and do a live stream and shame that sign, shame. So the people of the community have their say and push back against these people. And I think a lot of times if we shame them, they actually do remove them.
Yeah. I don't know if they'd remove them, probably not, but they might moderate some of their stuff. Anyway, I don't know what like actual businesses. I know they have Hamilton Farms. Not sure exactly what they do, if they even do anything anymore. But I mean, I think that's actually kind of a ruse to keep the sign up. I've even heard that the original guy that put up the sign in his will said, "You guys have to keep this sign here to keep this property." I mean,
wow.
What very motivated.
Oh my God. So, just take that hate to hell with you, asshole. Yes. So there you go.
Generational hate we got.
Oh my God.
Well, even if it went back to the religious scriptures that it had for so many years, that'd be better than the hate and fear mongering. And sadly, to see them so closely tied together is frustrating. I know.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our local report today. Thank you, Pete.
Well, I have another one.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
It's for Shanda. I was trying to find her last night because Forks was also trending.
Oh, let me tell you, I was
Twitter.
in this story.
Tell it, lady. Tell it.
Okay, so I live in a very small rural community, and if you've ever heard of Forks is the location where the vampire, Amber, what is it called?
Vampire Diaries.
Vampire Diaries takes place. Twilight, yes, the Twilight series. So Forks is 70 miles exactly from my driveway, so it's quite a trek to get out there. So 3 days ago, the League of Women Voters organized a protest in the middle of Squim, and we have a local gun owner, which is in my precinct. It's literally a block up the road from me. He went live on his Facebook saying, calling all patriots to come out with their weapons to protect the protesters from the buses of Antifa that had shown up. So I was in the middle of town when this happened. There was cops everywhere, state patrol, the protesters. The League of Women Voters was telling the police that we don't recognize these people of color. We don't recognize these young families. They must have been busted. So literally both the Republican and the Democrat sides are telling the local police, these are Antifa, right? And I'm down there. I recognize these people. I know most of them. And so I exit off the freeway and there's a white bus in front of me and we keep having to pull over because there's so many police coming. And they have some bikes on the back and you can tell it's an older bus that's been converted into maybe a motorhome or for camping. Well, a couple of hours later, I start getting reports out of Forks that there's loads of Antifa that had gone to the little store there and they knew that they were from out of town. They were Antifa and they were held up in a campground. So the people of Forks took it upon themselves to cut down trees and block this family into this campground.
Oh my
They
God.
literally, and this was an interracial family. So they had mixed children and they were shooting off weapons into the campground at them. And fortunately, some Forks high school students went in there with chainsaws and cut the trees up and let them escape. But their big claim was that, you know, these guys were bussed in, they're paid, they're provocateurs. And Forks is in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it is a 4-hour drive from Seattle to the rainforest to get there. And so it was so bad that our local police had to issue a bulletin saying this is a rumor, it was made up. So the gun owner now, he had to, issue an apology and whatnot, but he has had literally 20 armed guards in front of his business because the radical left is coming to burn his business down.
Oh, Jesus.
It's so insane. I have, and growing up in Alaska as well as rural Washington, I have had to check my, classmates and friends of youth be like, they don't understand it's an ideology. It is not, and seeing that misconfusions all over the internet and people just sharing it everywhere. And it's insane. My grandfather's from Lewis County, fought in World War II. that is
Antifa.
What an anti-fascist
is. Antifa, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
He got a Silver Star from General Patton. That is Antifa.
Do you teach Antifa in school, Pete?
I haven't taught much in school the last couple of months, let me tell you. But no, we touch on those things, and we don't talk. I've never said Antifa, I don't think, out loud, but we talk about different things, and the kids are very curious. Native kids are very familiar with activism. They're very familiar with the pipeline protests. Many of them went, so they know what's up. They know what the authorities with guns do. Okay, so that discussion is always live, but I've never used that term Antifa because how do you define it to people, right? I mean, other than what you just said. But yeah, it's never actually come up as a word, no.
Well, we have a label-conscious society these days. It's not anti-fascist, it's Antifa, so that must be bad because it's an acronym. And
the president doesn't like them.
And the president doesn't like them. And with the last two administrations basically coming out and like you guys said, going to the water keepers and, the North Dakota and, the tribe, that's got to just break everybody's heart. We know with Trump, but Obama, he he did horrible things about not supporting that. So
he let us down a lot.
He let us down a lot. So this is not beat up on Barack Day, but I'll have one of those too. Anyway, that's crazy. Thanks for all the local news, because it might be local here, but it's local everywhere else, just in different ways. As we've been, go ahead, Pete.
But I just wanted to say, you mentioned that high school kids came and helped them out, and that I love to hear that. I have a lot of faith in our youth.
Me too.
All over, rural kids, urban kids, suburban kids we're much better off in a lot of ways than we were, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
You need
that's how I want to say that.
You need to disclose your bias, Pete. You're a high school teacher, aren't you?
Well, I'm a middle school teacher.
Oh, middle school. So you actually love the children?
And,
that's nice. I like that.
Give kids credit.
Yeah.
Give kids credit. You know, they're seeing a lot, they're saying a lot, and there is hope for the future.
Well, we advocate that too, especially on this show and Uphill Media across the board. Is these kids are our future. It's not old F's like me who are 60 going down the tubes. It's the younger ones that are going to get out and plant the trees, who are going to try and save the planet from generations before that have been effing it up so bad. So thanks again, Pete, for getting us honed in on this. We're gonna jump. God, this was a good block of time for that. I'm glad we dedicated that, because the chat's been flying. Everybody, good morning, Jilly, Brom, Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Pat, the Batman fan. Who else we got out there? I'm missing. I know there's several others in there.
Melissa.
There's Melissa. I don't see Al. Oh, there's
Jilly.
Al. Hi, Al. Al. Hi from Vermont, Al. We missed Al yesterday, and anyway, we're gonna go. Remember, guys, when Hillary Clinton was talking about the deplorables out there, we had another
basket of deplorables.
Yeah, we've got a deplorables moment coming from somebody that you might be shocked did this, but let's see if it really is a deplorables moment. I'm going to run a few seconds of this. Here we go. This is Crystal and Sagar. They're tired today.
We have a long history in this country of politicians making ill-advised statements about exactly which percent of the country they find to be bad. And Joe Biden had his own offering in this direction yesterday. Let's take a listen.
Do we want our kids, do we really think this is as good as we can be as a nation? I don't think the vast majority of people think that. There are probably anywhere from 10 to 15% of the people out there that are just not very good people.
What? I mean, listen.
At least you revised it down.
Way to get those voters.
Yeah, like, what was it with Hillary? It was like, I think we actually have her comments. We'll play them in just a second.
We have
but
the comments.
Even if it's true, why would you do that? Why would you try to quantify exactly which percent is in the good camp and the bad camp? This just never ends well for anyone. Let's take a listen to Hillary's very memorable, deplorable comments from last cycle.
To just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
Oh, congratulations once again. Okay. What do you guys think? Who's up first here? Shanda, you got the biggest grin on your face. You take it away.
I just find this hilarious. Yet again, reaching out for voters, let's pigeonhole them, let's call them names, let's insult them, and then demand their vote. This is what we see over and over and over.
All right, Pete.
It's wrong.
Come on, Pete.
Yeah, I remember seeing Biden on C-SPAN talking to Democrats. I don't know how many times I've seen him talking to Democrats, and they start asking questions he doesn't like, and he's like touching them and grabbing their lapels and yanking on them. It's like, that's your base. You're attacking them physically. This guy, I tell you, man, he's a loose cannon. He's going to make so many gaffes. He's going to do so much stuff like this. It's going to be embarrassing, okay? And Trump is going after him for all the stuff he supported in the 90s right now. And Trump's he's no fool in that respect. He's going to get some mileage out of it, because look at the Clintons and Biden and all the Democrats. They were so tough on crime back in the 90s, and they were screwing up big time, and it's going to come back to bite them.
Yeah, I agree. I got to say, Amber, you want to add to this, please?
Sure, I'll do what I can. Well, yeah, it's never a good idea to start slinging mud at the people that you're begging for votes. and then turn around and blame them later for not supporting you. And people wonder why most of the country can't identify with either major party in this country. So we really do need to look at what we're asking of people. Is this the best we can come up with, or is it the best that we want to put forward? And that's kind of the question that I run into a lot of times. And we keep making up excuses for people. And I'm over it. I don't understand how we can keep doing this repeatedly and not expect the same result.
Yeah, it is over and over again. And, this just blew me away. So it blew my brains out again. I mean, here we go. Replay 2016 all over again. So I just don't know what to say. It's Biden, really. So let's talk about how low this bar is that we have these choices. And we won't get into, they're going to replace him or anything else. But Kyle Kolinsky, did a little deal yesterday, and I saw it, and I still got kind of a headache because he was right. But let's run this clip here real quick. Get ready, Shanda, because you're the one that was hollering the loudest on this.
Vote for Joe Biden in spite of facing a lot of pressure to do exactly that. He's laid out what his criteria is, why Joe Biden doesn't meet it. He's been very specific about rejecting the lesser of two evils or vote blue no matter who standard. Well, he seems to be rethinking that position as frankly as I have been this week as well. He explained some of his thinking on his show yesterday. Let's take a listen.
So that's why I was 98% certain. Like, no, I'm not going to vote for Biden. He doesn't meet even my very, very lenient standards. But now I feel like the game changed, and being totally honest with you guys, walking you through my thought process, now I'm 50-50 as to whether or not I vote for him. And the reason I say that is, it actually may be the case that the stakes are, this guy is against the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and wants to effectively eliminate it by deploying the U.S. military on U.S. soil. That's Trump. And Biden, even if you grant that he's bad on this issue and he would deploy more police or he would deploy the National Guard, that is categorically different and not nearly as bad as deploying the U.S. military on U.S. soil. That is not a destruction of the First Amendment. And that, my friends, is a giant, crucial difference where there is no equivalence between the two candidates.
And, I mean, frankly, yeah, it is interesting. I'm going to bet that Kyle is not alone in that way. In fact, I know he's not alone because I feel the same way. I mean, I've been very reluctant to get behind Biden because his role in the Iraq War, his role in just the ascendant neoliberal wing in the party, his law and order, frankly, quote unquote, role in mass incarceration. I think he's been on the wrong side, the pro-free trade, the NAFTA, TPP. I mean, all of these things, in my view, he's been on the wrong side. And so even though I never thought that he and Trump were equivalent, I do feel that, he was beyond the pale, but he was outside of what I could really get behind and affirmatively vote for. Two things in my view have happened. I mean, like Kyle, I share the view that
she goes, watch this clip just so you can get full context. And I might have a different view than the rest of the group here today. So, Amber, you started off this time.
I thought we were watching the full clip. Damn.
No, I can't. It's like forever.
I'll just pretend what she's going to say with her eyes closed. I'm sure it's wonderful. I don't know, man. I am always afraid to know what is happening in the midst of us thinking things are safe, thinking things are calm and peaceful, and that we have the right people taking care of something. And, after the fact, finding out it's 10 times worse. And so I still have those reservations, and it's going to be really important to see what happens going forward. I mean, we're literally having to beg, the center and centrists to be more left than some of our party leaders. And it's insane. And I can't come to grips with that yet.
Pete?
I agree.
Pete?
Oh, muted.
You're muted, Pete.
I'm sorry about that. I went the wrong way.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. We live in Washington State. A lot of us do. And we have a luxury of kind of voting for whoever we wanted and not really feeling like it's a problem. I promised my wife I'd vote for Joe Biden. I'm going to say that. And if you look at things, it's a tough decision. Because if you look right now, I don't know about you guys. I personally know people who are like, I'm going out to buy guns. I'm going out. I mean, they're freaking out. They're thinking that the whole thing's going to collapse and they're going to be out in the woods eating bugs and whatever. Okay. I know people that are thinking this, Democrats even. Okay. So yeah, Trump is making things go off the rails. So now he went from 97% to 50%. I get it. I think a lot of us are there. So that's all I'm going to say about it.
Shanda, you don't have any comment, do you?
No, not at all. So if you remember, we covered the Kyle Kolinsky clip on the accidental activist 2 weeks ago, where him and Cenk Uygur were going back and forth on Twitter about Cenk's, browbeating him for saying he wasn't going to vote. If, he didn't want to vote for Biden, he didn't find a candidate, he wasn't going to vote. And then 3 or 4 days ago, when Trump announces that he's going to call the military in, I thought, oh, shit, maybe I should vote for Biden. And then I went, oh my God, I just got propagandized. I bought into it. I'm buying into the fear. I'm scared. So I'm going to vote for a candidate that absolutely doesn't represent anything that I stand for, any of my ideology. So I'm back to, no, I'm not voting for Joe. If I'm going to vote, I'm going to vote for somebody who represents the same ideology that I have. Even though I am scared to death that Trump has unleashed the military on us. I think it is the worst thing, but I see Trump rolling this back really soon because the Democrats are going to weaponize against him. We saw the DC mayor make no arrest yesterday at protest and say, get out of our city. We don't need you. So I think they're going to flip this on Trump really fast and they're going to come after him for it. So I'm just going to kick back. We still got quite a few months. Why make a decision now and don't buy into the fear?
A lot can happen. And you have to realize that our pacifist and apathy of getting through the Obama years is what brought us Trump. So thinking that we get to go back to, our happy little farmhouses and kick back for 4 years with Uncle Joe in the office, what is going to be the next round of that?
Right.
It's going to be worse, more weaponized, more ideologically farther away. I've actually even heard Trump even speaking to a different to coming closer, I would say, to Medicare for all than anybody in the DNC elite. Mm-hmm. And so that's really crazy. You have to, we've got to let them figure this out. And part of it is that they are so close to the same sides of one coin that they don't have these real life experiences. And so it's only when a bit of fear creeps in, a change of their lifestyle, a little bit of shakeup that they realize what the rest of us have been living through daily. And that it's not been easy. It's not, peaches and cream. And we're fed up with it. We've got 43 million people out of work. We've got zero health care. And, we're turning around giving billions away, having the largest shift of wealth in the history of the world. And we're just supposed to be, yeah, it's going to be great. We'll take some contact tracing and get back to life as usual.
Which they're weaponizing against the protesters, which we'll have to cover that at another time. I want to invite people to come over and join me in the Rockfin live chat. I've popped out of the YouTube chat because we're trying to build our Rockfin. So if you want to talk with me, I'm in the Rockfin chat.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're going to be going live on Rockfin on like a regular basis now. So that's good. I just want to say it's out of the gate right here. It is so nice being in a room where we can talk without somebody suffering from TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. I lose my shit 24/7 because it's, oh God, Trump's the end of the world. He's the Antichrist, everything else, but. And I keep saying, how did we get here? How did we get here? So I think we agree, ladies. I mean, at what point do we say, I have had it. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take any more. I'm not going to be baited into voting for this because this or anything else. What do? We don't have the time to fuck around with this kind of politicking. So again, whatever you do in November, whatever you do up there at that presidential slot, I still believe we can affect the down ballot races all the way down to city councils and, representatives of the city. So if for that, I care, but I don't care at this point who you're going to be voting for. We know that Trump is pulling out the military and everything else. But I think Shanda said it. He's going to be as bad as he can be up to a certain point, timing before the election. Remember, this guy's a reality TV asshole, okay? He knows how to play the public. As dumb as you know or think he is, he's still in that groove. So he's going to play it bad, and then all of a sudden he's going to be an angel, and everybody's going to frickin' love him. That's what I'm calling right now. He's going to make sure we get stimulus, and they're going to give us some crumbs that we just can't deny, and he's going to boost that all the way back up, and he's going to beat Joe Biden with like a wet rag. The other way, I can be completely wrong. He could just keep face planting, go all Mussolini, and the whole country could just go up in flames. I don't see that happening, because that signals the end, if it hasn't been already, to the corporate oligarchy losing control of the entire planet. I know that's kind of stark coming from me. So everybody, a last word on this before we get to the economic aspect.
I agree with you. Who did he appease by rolling out the military? He appeased the far right, that he will act, right? And then once he rolls them back, who's he appeasing? The far left. Okay, he's going to roll it back, and then he'll throw a stimulus. I do believe he will throw a stimulus at us probably in August, a way to buy our votes. I agree. You thought that you and I were not going to see eye to eye on this one, but I totally agree.
Amber?
I am of the same thought process. These are actors, and he is clearly playing many roles to many people, and is banking on it. So yeah, let's let the games begin.
Pete?
Yeah, I totally agree. He knows how to do. He knows how to work the public, the television, the media. He's the id president. I think that's the only thing that might get him a little in trouble. But when it comes right down to it, he's going to say the things that his base is going to like to hear, and then the casual voter who doesn't really know what the hell's going on will like to hear.
And what's been just briefly mentioned in the last couple of days is that people generally want to count on their president. They want to believe it. They want that because we're not getting it, but they want it. So that's going to factor in too. Some people say, "Oh, you're full of shit, Oz. There's no way that Joe Biden's going to lose to Trump." And I'm saying, I'm your huckleberry. So here we go. You getting tired of that yet? But I just gotta. I have to take a position, like our friends, like Fiorella, like Kyle, not like Chink Uger. I'm so done with Chink. Go away, Chink. You're just whatever. But anyway, it's not a bashing session. Let's look at the economic aspects of these things, and David Dayen, he was on the Hill this morning. And he was talking about the real reason the stock market is up while the country burns. Now, I split this into two segments because I want to make a point here that you got to be really paying attention to catch for some people, because I am not an economist. Shanda, she said, I'm not either, but we do have the same view on this. Now, Amber and Pete, you have some experience with this, I believe. So I really want you guys to watch closely. We're eager to hear what you say on this. But here's the first clip, and I'm just going to run it as far as I have to, but it's the second clip that I really want you to see.
Economic recovery, and at the same time, Bloomberg reported this week that only 1/3 of unemployment claims have been processed so far. So how did Wall Street rebound so fast?
Executive editor of the American Prospect, David Dayen, has a piece that explains exactly this, and he joins us now. Great to see you, David.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is one of the things that, it's kind of a hallmark of the dysfunction of our times. You have mass unemployment. You have 74%, I think, of the American public saying we're headed in the wrong direction. Millions being kicked off of health insurance, unable to make rent, chaos in the streets, and yet stock market's doing great. What's going on?
Well, it's really two words, and the two words are Federal Reserve. So if you actually dig in to the stock numbers and all the capital markets, really, not just stocks, you see that there was a deterioration in February and particularly in March, and everything ends on March 23rd, and there's this complete bounce back. Now, what happened on March 23rd? What was on that day that the Federal Reserve made an announcement that it would essentially do whatever it takes to prevent the investors from taking losses from the coronavirus crisis. That included the purchase of corporate debt, which had never done in its entire history. Never. And just the signal of that, just the announcement that everybody would be protected, followed by the CARES Act, which gave the sort of muscle behind that announcement by giving $500 billion to Treasury that it could use as part of this money cannon of $4.5 trillion that the Fed had at its disposal. That all was enough. And everything really proceeded from there. Stocks went way back up. Corporate bond ETFs that track corporate bond markets went way back up. Every major corporation floated debt, and everything sort of went back to normal for the markets.
Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? So what do you guys? We're gonna let Pete go first. Pete, what do you think of that one?
Hey, these corporations have invested. They've invested well in our government, and the government is coming right back to pay them back. Okay, that's just what's going on. It's been going on for decades, and so the Federal Reserve's all the same thing. It's a revolving door, in and out, lobbyists, and all the money, and it's a club. And just like George Carlin said, it's a club and we're not in it. Okay, that's the club. Okay, yeah. So they know what's going on. They're going to control this. That's why the stock market's doing great right now. Is everybody else doing great? Not so much. But the stock market, yeah, they've invested well in this government and they're making it work for them. Okay,
Pat, the Batman fan, you hear that? Pete Hammer, Chehalis, Washington is endorsing your new show. It's a big club, baby, and you ain't in it. Pat the Batman fan is going to be doing a George Carlin show. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, where's his check? We're going to have to send him some royalties there, Pat. Amber, I know that you have nothing to say about this, but we're going to make you anyway.
Okay, force my hand at this. Federal Reserve just printing money what was it, $1 million a week, I believe. They have been working on extending mergers and acquisitions and buybacks. Of course, the CARES Act was a huge piece of that economic stimulus security, which went to businesses. And, it's like every time and that's even happening here in my own county. So it's like every time it goes through an entity, every little entity gets to take their cut, just like a banking system, of processing fees and overhead to develop and run the programs. And they've just continued business as usual, but at the same time it's just not backed by anything. And so that's what's going to be really interesting. We saw the rate cuts, we saw the repo market jump. It's going to be interesting to see how they, if oil does not bounce back, how they protect their dollar, and when the rest of the world gets so fed up with it, what the plan's going to be? What's plan B on this?
Yeah, plan B. Now, Shanda and I kind of cheated this morning. We know where this is going, but Shanda, before I run this clip, let's hear what you got to say.
Well, I'm a poor woman, so the stock market doesn't reflect my finances. Obama allowed, them to come in and take my 401k in 2008. I don't build my life. I don't do anything in my life around the stock market. I just look at it as the rich getting richer. If I hear, the stock market's on the rise, I'm like, oh, okay. Some agency is writing a check that the American people's ass is going to have to cover.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to these are some unknown terms that most people are aware of some of the different programs that they have enacted, such as the term asset-backed securities loan facility. So again, buy back bundles of assets from small businesses. We've got the commercial paper funding facility. I mean, they sound like they're out of a sci-fi novel. It's hilarious. It is the tool using the last financial crisis to get money directly into the hands of large businesses, which are most likely major employers. Most likely. Yeah. There's the primary dealer credit facility. There's the primary market corporate credit facility. There's the secondary market corporate credit facility. There's the money market mutual fund liquidity facility, the MMFLF, my favorite. So it's, they're just finding ways to continue pushing billions of dollars into this same circle of same people. And again, people on the ground are getting very, very little, or having to go through extraneous hoops to get a loan that they're supposed to pay back and interest-free for 6 months. Because we're all just jumping back with our jobs in 6 months. Right?
Oh yeah. We just saw that they were harping on, oh gosh, we got 10% of the jobs back that we lost during the pandemic. Oh yay! I don't believe that for a second, but even then, so 10% is a great thing when we've lost 90%, and much of that's going to be permanent. Would you guys agree with that, right? Well, let me before I start spewing again. Now listen to this closely, and then I'm going to try and wrap it up on that point. So this is David. They get a little bit further into this interview, but listen for some key terminology here.
Not that the two are completely connected, but there is a case to be made that the pandemic and the economic collapse is in the mix here. So that's number one. Number two, there are ways that this real economy struggle is going to be channeled into financial markets, the biggest being commercial real estate. I see an absolute collapse there in commercial real estate, and that's something that's traded as securities, commercial mortgage-backed securities, that will find its way into financial markets and cause some trouble. The real question is, can the Fed hold it? Because the Fed hasn't spent really any money here. They've done this all through the power of suggestion. And you can kind of get away with that for a while, but at some point the Fed is going to have to step up and show its hand. And if it's only solving for liquidity when the problem is insolvency, that is going to catch up with the markets at some point. So that will sort of remain to be seen over the summer. And if we don't get further relief from Congress, which this good jobs report is going to make more difficult, you're going to see problems in state and local spending. You're going to see more business bankruptcies, commercial real estate slipping. And those are all real economy things that could find their way into the capital markets.
Okay. All right. Who caught it? You can't say, Shanda. Amber? Pete? What were the two? Okay. Liquidity and solvency. If they keep shoring up liquidity, what the hell does that mean? Fake shit? Liquidity? Who gives a shit about liquidity? I give a shit about solvency, because if I've got a barn that's falling apart out in the country and I say, this barn, oh God, it's worth like $2 million. So I'm going to get loans and they're going to give me $2 million to this fucking bank, when the solvency of that property, this is how I'm getting it. And you, Amber and Pete, tell me if I'm wrong. That's the real crux. That barn ain't worth shit, like $30 and a bottle top. So let's go with Amber on this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton more to add, except for that. This is just the continued fleecing. It's really has not changed. They are going to start the bank buybacks, and then we'll all be more in debt and, waiting for something to bail us out again. It's just another fleecing of the wealth of our country to make us more in debt.
Pete, I mean, yeah, liquidity, solvency.
Solvency, yeah. Well, he also mentioned the commercial real estate, and that emphasized the point that it is just like Amber says, a continuation of what's been going on. And now this situation is sort of emphasized things that were already in trouble and are going to continue to be in trouble. Now we've added, of course, people losing health care. We had opportunity for the people that actually have access to the government through the tools Amber mentioned before to just milk it for billions of dollars as quick as possible, because here's an opportunity. So, we don't have an opportunity as regular people. We're sort of at the mercy of whatever happens. But those people that have access, this is their opportunity. to just jump in there, and it's going to speed things up. Things are happening, that normally take years are happening in weeks now, in terms of what, taking billions out of the Federal Reserve and the government and all that stuff so they can buy back their stock and give each other bonuses or whatever the hell they do, so yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit it there, Pete. It's what would normally take years. They've ramped it up to where it's taking weeks and months now. So that's scary in itself. Shanda, before I close this one out, your thoughts?
I have a question, not a thought. So with all these businesses that have gone out of business, and we're talking about commercial properties that have been mortgaged and leveraged to get money, if the business isn't there to support it, what happens? Are we creating a bubble that's going to burst and all of these commercial properties will get sucked into the vacuum?
Yeah, well, that bubble was all blowing up earlier. I mean, even before the pandemic, commercial real estate was having trouble because people are working from home, and you don't need to have that brick and mortar downtown. Things are changing. We're evolving out of it.
Right. So what's going to happen to all these strip malls across America that are sitting empty?
Ghost towns.
Yeah.
Amber, you want to close this out, and I'll add my 2 cents, and we'll head out for the day.
Sure. Yeah. It's continued smash and grab. They've been doing this for a long time, and all of a sudden there's nobody to make those large, condo payments. And I've already seen it in the Seattle real estate market, just in residential markets, watching that very closely, and also paying really close attention to commercial development that was planned to happen. And especially with the industry that I've been in, we're nowhere near 50%, and that was on public projects work. So there's a lot of unknowns that have to be resolved, and things have to return to normal before these projects even make sense to continue, even if they were steady funding. So the private sector is going to be, and commercial sector is going to be a lot harder hit. Who's going to fill these 800 square feet, $800,000 condos in downtown Seattle? You can work remotely in central Iowa for $200 a month.
Exactly.
And the corporate oligarch is going to buy all this property up for a song and continue to buy up all these homes that are being lost as they transition us from our meager homes out into the streets. Is that going to be happening? I see the way I look at it is July. Is that end of second quarter? Yeah. July. Yeah. July's into second quarter. I think the shit's really going to hit the fan August 1st with the houses, with the housing market. And, we might sit around and feel comfortable in our skin. Oh, my house is worth $300,000. Well, what happens when you can't pay for anything else? I mean, the shit is hitting the fan right now. And I think, without juxtaposing myself too much with what Kim Iverson said, it's a combination of the pandemic, of the murdering of our sisters and brothers in the streets of color, of the climate melting down. I mean, we're ready to pop. The pressure's there. So what does it take to light this fuse? A murder of a black man by a cop that's been going on for decades? Or is it the smash and grab of giving Wall Street $1.5 trillion? Oh, don't worry, guys, we're going to take care of you. I mean, that's it. So last words, again, before I head out here.
Yeah, I am in total agreement with that. I think August and September are going to be our telling points, which happens to be just magically right before the elections. We have our the extra unemployment dollars will run out in the end of July. And so people that have been able to continue paying their rent or mortgage, if they're able to and qualify, will no longer be able to. And then you have school not starting, so which clearly disproportionately affects women and working women and single mothers, which I happen to be one as well. So there's some huge systemic issues in that, because we are kind of the backbone of the workforce because of our lower pay status. So I think that's really, really going to hit hard. And we're going to really have some come to Jesus moments.
Pete?
But will we have those?
Yeah, will we have those? Pete, what do you think?
A good question. Yeah, we're on a precipice right now.
Yeah.
The next 6 months to a year are going to be very telling as far as it's kind of like we're going through the shit before we can maybe pull it together and make things better. I like to remain positive. But I think we're going to be going through some shit for a while here, and it's going to be there's going to be some come to Jesus moments for this culture, this society that we live in right now, and we're going to have to really reevaluate our values. Like, what are we doing? What do we value? Is it money? Is it people? I think we're getting down to that, and I think that's a great question for our society, and hopefully we'll come out on the other side a little bit better.
Shanda?
Let us not forget that every time Trump gets in front of a camera, he reminds us that we had the strongest stock market and economy that we have seen in lifetimes. And he is guaranteeing that we're going to come out of this the end of second and third quarter, and we're going to go into this election strong. Now, I do not underestimate Trump trying to feed us a line of bull and tell us that everything is okay and manipulate that so people think that we are in an economic recovery when actually we are probably just free falling to the bottom. So, are we going to see it in the next 6 months? I don't know. I almost think that Trump's going to try to gloss it over and, feed us a line of bull to get reelected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's been a wonderful good news opinion today with all of you. Thank you so much, Amber and Shanda and Pete. Nice having you on. Pete, can we have you back?
Yeah, sure. If I have the time, but sure, yeah.
Yeah. If you got the time, I'll give you a heads up on shows you may be interested in joining in. We're always looking for people who have things to say, and we offer them that platform. I want to give a special shout out here to Al Wolski. He dropped us a super chat. A robust independent media needs robust support. Yes, Al. And you know what, Al? We all try and cross support all of our sisters and brothers in social media, and that's the way to do it. You can help us out with that, with both super chats, Rockfin, signing up for free, going over to Rockfin and getting a $10 a month. You got your friends Fee and Jimmy and Graham and so many others over there at Rockfin that once you sign up for that, you get them too, and the premium content, which we are going to get into. We have shows tomorrow. We've got No Joke with Marcus and Dennis, straight out of Germany via Olympia, Washington, with Crazy Oz and John Ellis down in California. Do we have anything tomorrow night for Town Hall there, Amber?
We don't. We are taking a break.
Oh, I get to go out and work in the greenhouse. Wonderful. And then Sunday morning, we got PDPR, People to Reform the Democratic Party, determined to reform, with Larry Taylor, who is the national parliamentarian, one of the few. And just heads up, Washington State Democratic Party, we have our own parliamentarian working with the progressive elements of the Democratic Party, so we're not going to take any bull. We're going to go by Robert's Rules of Order. We encourage you to do the same. Then Sunday, we have Shanda Masta with the Accidental Activist. Who are you going to do? Have you figured out where we're going to go with that Sunday, Shanda?
Well, I don't want to advertise it till I have everything locked down, but we're going to have an awesome Sunday brunch. We love our Sunday show. It's just kind of laid back, easy Sunday morning. So you never know what you're going to get. So join me.
Yeah. And then that pending announcement, we've got an announcement that will be of great interest to many of you, and we're looking forward to that. Shanda, we have an outgo song. Shanda submitted this today. It's Everything is Everything. You want to go out and explain this song?
Yeah, this song was originally written by Lauryn Hill. Some of you might remember her. She is a multi Grammy Award winner. She is married into the Marley family. I believe she's married to Ziggy Marley. And I just want to remind people that after winter must come spring. And so even though these are some very, very dark times for our country and for us as individuals, there is light. We're going to come out of this. We're going to come out of this stronger. So, just look for the helpers and love each other.
Very nice, very nice. So we've got Everything is Everything and this Ms. Lauryn Hill cover. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, for No Joke with Marcus and Dennis and John and Oz, maybe. Okay, bye-bye.
Yes? Yo, na de uitmarkt had ik vet veel leuke berichtjes waardoor ik dacht, ik ga gewoon een akoestische versie opnemen samen met Wes. Enjoy en laat vooral weten wat je ervan vindt. Yes? Yes, let's go. these rules. We're so confused, easily led astray. And let me tell you, everything is everything is everything. How? I said everything, after winter must come spring. Change coming visually. Our philosophy possibly speak tongue, beat drums, epicenium, street Baptist, rap this and fine linen from the beginning. My practice extending across the atlas. I begat this, flipping in the ghetto on a dirty mattress. You can't match this. Rapper slash actress, more powerful than two Cleopatras. Bomb graffiti on the tomb of Nefertiti. MCs ain't ready to take it to a Serengeti. My rhyme is heavy just like the mind of Sister Betty. L Boogie spars with stars of constellation. They came down for a little conversation. Adjacent to the king, fear no human being. Roll with your rabim, soon our soul Coliseum. Now hear this mixture where hip hop meets structure. Develop a negative into a positive picture. What? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Everything. Woo, 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 yeah, yeah. What is meant to, I said, what is meant to be